welcome to the Valley. Today, I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Public Safety Thursday, but we are not live in the studio. Gaz and I are in the studio, but we are not live as you are listening because Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office, you are teaching a class in Williamsburg about advanced DUI. Is that right?
Yep, and DUID. So it's actually two classes. The first is 3.5 days, and then the second is a day and a half. And so it's two phases because law enforcement and prosecutors can either come to one or the other, or they can attend both. It's trying to take into account busy schedules and such like that. But if someone's able to take both, you're adding another day technically because that half day. So it makes it a little easier, especially for law enforcement and prosecutors who are saying, instead of, a total of 7 or 8 days out of the office, I can combine it down to just 5. And still an important topic when we're talking about the legalization of marijuana, along with the ongoing issues we've seen with those who struggle with knowing when or when not to be behind the wheel after consuming alcohol. And then in the DUID phase, along with legal substances, we talk about prescription medications that can get out of hand. And then we, of course, get into the illegal and the illicit drugs that we are seeing people inject, inhale, and then trying to operate a motor vehicle among us and our loved ones. And sometimes, more times than anybody would want to see, we're having crashes, injuries, and fatalities from it. So still important topics. And of course, impairment and impaired driving is how you and I met.
Not because I was impaired, to be clear.
Well, no, you weren't driving impaired,
I was not,
but you were definitely impaired.
That is true.
Let's be clear.
On purpose.
Yes. You purposely got impaired.
Yes.
And Tim dealt with you, Tim.
And I want to tell you, so I was getting my hair done last week, and I was telling her that I had to come over because we were going to record in the studio because you weren't going to be here. And I said, he has to go to Williamsburg to teach an advanced DUI class. And she goes, what does that mean? I said, it's for more seasoned drinkers. It's for the people that drink a lot, and he needs to.
Yes. After dealing with Janet for all these years,
I'm
I've
surprised
noticed
you're not one of them.
I never had a bourbon collection until I met Janet.
And aren't you grateful that you have such a nice one now?
Yeah, but and this is where we throw in the disclaimer.
Right.
Folks, we joke around. We use humor to keep you listening, and then we talk about the serious topics. Anybody who knows me knows that I don't laugh at impaired drivers. I'm not happy with arresting an impaired driver or watching an impaired driver get arrested or seeing some of the after effects that some of them do suffer from that they brought on. But I've also seen more than one that have used that arrest, that wake-up call to pick themselves up and live a more responsible and a more safe life and allow others around them to continue living safely. So there's the disclaimer, and that's by the time you're listening to that, that's hopefully, I'm knocking on wood, that's where I'll be and that's what I'll be doing. And so that's why today on Friday the 27th, we are recording this show, and it's pretty much a beautiful day outside.
Yes, and we're going to have a lovely weekend ahead of us. And if I'm not mistaken, putting on my time machine hat, it's going to be an even more beautiful weekend. The weekend people are listening. So how about that?
All right, there we go. So let's hope Kemp's right for a change. I mean, let's hope Kemp. Yeah, okay. Love you, Kemp.
Yeah. So let's talk school cameras because that's what we talked about the last time. They were not active when we were on the air together in early February, but they are active now. Are they still in that period of you're getting warnings? Where is everything?
Still in the 30-day warning period today, and even at the time of the airing of the show, the warning period goes through March 12th.
Okay.
So right now they are active. We've had several people comment on a couple of our Facebook posts that this one or that one doesn't look like it's completed. And I'm like, I'm not sure how you're gauging what it looks like when it's completed, but I assure you they are active. And if you want to give me your tag number, I can check to see if you've got something coming in the mail. Because I can tell you a lot of people were shocked when we posted the first day numbers.
I was floored.
The first day numbers, we were talking over 1,300 warnings that were issued from one zone.
Oh, wait, that wasn't for all three of them combined?
Well, when we posted it, it was, but there were still some that were still processing because, and when I say the good thing, I mean the good thing in as much as people being able to depend on this system is this is not computer or AI operated at all. This is all by human hand. So with that number of violations that weren't expected, the company processing the violations one at a time with an actual human looking at date, time, location, were the lights flashing, tag number, is the tag number correct? Now running that tag, because we don't scan tags, we have a violator, now we run the tag. Does that tag come back to the vehicle in the video and the picture? Now, is that also a local person? And you say, well, why does it matter if they're local? Because that also ties in more likely that that is all accurate.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're local, because even if it's not, and the car matches and the tag matches, that person's still getting it. But that's just a further check. But that is all done by human hands in Chattanooga, Tennessee, before it's sent back here to Frederick County. We're one of three people, and I'm one. My traffic lieutenant is the other, and my traffic sergeant is the third. One of us three is going to review all of that information again. Date, time, was school in session? Are the lights flashing? Because our system has a video clip 4 seconds before and 4 seconds after that show the flashing lights to make sure they're actually flashing. Now, we may not always see the suspect or violator vehicle going by because it depends on the speed. Again, because where those flashing lights are, we're waiting until a person's well in the school zone to get a speed, because we don't want it to be right at the sign where someone may be trying to slow down, anything like that. So they may not appear in that video, but the video shows that 4 seconds before the LiDAR captured you and 4 seconds after it captured you, those lights are flashing. So we take that and we look at that. We look at the tag. Does the tag match what Blue Line has put into the box? Does that tag come back to the same type of vehicle we see in the photo? Sometimes colors may be off, but if it says silver Ford and I see what I think is a white Ford, Explorer, then we're probably like, yeah, okay. And that's where I look at the locality. If this person's from like Virginia Beach and I'm looking at a black Ford SUV and it's supposed to be a white Ford SUV, I'm gonna just give discretion on that and say, I'm not exactly sure.
That's another red flag. You've got to go explore a little bit
because
more.
sometimes people get the cars painted and they don't update the registration.
Wow.
And sometimes,
you have to do that?
Well, sometimes people put a color in wrong. Something I would call gold, you might call beige or brown, maroon versus purple. So you can't get into the weeds there. It's mainly, does the tag come back to a Ford Bronco, we're saying in this particular instance? And it does. If it's a color scheme thing that's off, but it's a local address or a nearby address, yeah, I feel confident, okay, that's you. And we have an option. If someone says, no, that's not me, yep, just bring in what you have. And if it's not, it's going to go away. But most of the time, again, with this being human hands and it's starting there, coming to us, and it has to be a sworn officer who then says, yes, everything matches. This is a violation. I approve it. Now that goes back down to the vendor, and they take care of mailing out what is right now warnings. So that first day, we reported, I want to say 1,300 something, but the next day we've got additional violations that the humans, when they came back to work,
still had them in the box.
We're able to say, okay, well, I got this one, I got this one. So when it was all said and done between the three school zones, we were looking, somewhere 14, 15, 16.
Get out.
And the numbers are running together in my head now because the sheriff has also asked for updates. I can tell you this, in a 4-day period, we were just shy of 3,000.
That is crazy. Did you expect it to be that high?
Not that high, but I did expect high numbers, especially with one of the roadways being Route 7. I mean, that's a highly traveled area. 522 North was less than what I thought, but still clearly an issue. And Stonewall was low for what I thought, and I'm happy for that, and I'm glad of that. But here's what I'll say. We also had, in the 4 days, repeat offenders. I had one guy who came through every day, and he was 63 over, 69. Oh, wait. He was 63 in a 45. He was 69 in a 45, 71 in a 45, and 77 in a 45.
God.
And so the only thing I can say about that, and people say, well, it's not working. He hadn't gotten his first warning yet.
I was going to say that, yeah, he would have gotten them all before he even realized what he was doing or was notified of what he was doing.
So when you ask about those numbers, we weren't expecting that high, but we were expecting to see a steady volume and to see it for about the first week, 10 days. And then once those first warnings start actually getting delivered,
landing in mailboxes,
we are hoping that at least a third of those people are like, okay. And I'll say this, in a matter of all transparency, I was surprised at the number of vehicles who were at that 10 over. And the 10 over is our minimum.
Right.
Like 45 and a 35. We had a great deal of 45s and a 35. And for anybody that says, well, then why are you doing it? You know, that's only one over the threshold because our threshold is 9, right? Well, you're forgetting that 45 and a 35 is still 10 miles an hour over the limit.
It's still illegal.
Yeah. So forget what our threshold is. You're still 10 over because we have some people saying, hey, it should be lower. And I understand what they're saying. But again, we want to give as much benefit of the doubt. And what we're looking to do is change driving behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, during this 30-day warning period, if you're one of these people getting 4, 5, 6 of these, and you're one of these people at 13, 18, 24 over, and you don't get the message, I will be the last person that you will want to sing your sad song to or come at me with Big Brother mentality because we gave you ample warning that all you need to do is slow down to at least 9 or less over the limit. We prefer you to be at the limit, but all you got to do is slow down a little bit. Once you hit the 10, and especially if you've been through more than once and you've been warned, yeah, I'm not going to be that guy to be feeling bad.
And let's remind everybody, these are school zones. Mm-hmm. This isn't a random stretch of 522 or Route 7. This is on at our schools.
A work zone with no workers present. I've heard that debate before. And here's what I'll say, and then it'll probably be time for a break. These work zones where they're setting up these cameras, because 81 in our area of Frederick County is going to have some construction coming in the next couple of years. And folks, don't be surprised if photo enforcement isn't established out there.
Oh, yeah.
And when they want to say, well, you know, it's the middle of the night, there's no workers present. If you've got a Jersey wall on the left and a Jersey wall on the right, and you've got tractor trailers coming through and mingling in with regular passenger vehicles and other smaller vehicles, it's not a matter of just protecting the workers. Protect those families in those vehicles, because all it takes is someone banging a Jersey wall. You blow out a tire, you bang to the left on the Jersey wall, and you shoot to the right to another one, and now you're T-boned. Is that going to be prevented if you're traveling at a slower speed? No. But what's going to be prevented is you possibly flipping right when the tire blows at a slower speed. What may happen is the impact into the first Jersey wall is not going to be as significant and may prevent you from the second impact, or at the very least, give the person also traveling just behind you a chance to react, slow down, and avoid you. So it's not just if workers are present. And so when you want to talk about school zones, it's not about the kids being present. It's about the fact there are more kids in vehicles, buses, mom and dad's cars, driving their own cars for the first time or driving mom and dad's car as high school students. They are all present there in this one area trying to get into this facility. And it's like, it doesn't matter where the building is, you know, X feet from the building, it's school property. And this is the school entrance. And so even with traffic lights on Route 7 at the 2 entrances to Millbrook and Redbud Run, even with those lights, believe it or not, folks, people run red lights, you know, and that's another thing. We're going to look into red light cameras. So some of these intersections where people are like rolling the dice because they know there's never a cop here. Yeah. So it's not
It was yellow when I went under it, officer, I swear.
It's not Big Brother technology. It's we can't be everywhere all the time. And apparently we can't depend on some of you to do the right thing all the time. So we're going to help you out a little bit.
And on that note, we are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office. It is Public Safety Thursday. We are recorded today. It is not a live show. We're sitting in the studio on the 27th of February. You, of course, are listening in early March. But you're going to get to hear the rest of the conversation anyway in just a couple of minutes. Just going to take a quick second during the break for a public service announcement. Winchester Little Theater, a place very near and dear to my heart, has discovered that ticket resellers are listing their shows online and jacking up the prices. But here's the truth. They only sell tickets through their official website, winchesterlittletheater.org, for $25 with discounts for students and seniors. But some of these websites are charging $45, $65, even hundreds of dollars. And while ticket reselling is legal, it hurts patrons and small nonprofit theaters like Winchester Little Theater. So before you buy, please check their website, winchesterlittletheater.org. That's theater, theatre.org. And thank you for supporting local theater. The Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Public Safety Thursday, so we are in the studio with Captain Warren Gosnell from the Frederick County Sheriff's Office. We are not live in the studio today. I keep saying we are not live. We are not live.
We are.
Because
we are right now.
We are live, but you are not listening to a live show. You are listening to a live recorded show, or as what was it Colbert used to say when his show would come on live, on tape.
This is not AI. That's all you have to worry about.
That's true, too.
We're the real deal. We're really us.
Yeah, although there are probably some out there going, I wonder what AI would sound like. It can't be any worse. So we went to break. We were talking about the school camera, the school traffic camera, the school cameras.
It's still a work in progress. We're still in the warning periods. So you still have time to do the right thing on your own. If you haven't been, then by now, especially by now you're listening to this, if you've gone through one of those zones more than 10 over, you've gotten your warning or warnings, Mr. West Virginia guy. So please pay attention to it, because March 13th, the real deal begins, and violations will be subject to those $100 civil penalties.
And does it matter how far over you are? Is it a flat $100 regardless? Or if you're
Correct.
10 over, it's this much. If you're 20 over, it's this much. It's just a flat $100.
Code only allows the $100 civil penalty to the registered owner. And so there are things, though, that we could be made aware of. If you have an habitual speeder that's coming through, that's like, one, I don't care about the $100, or I'm not going to pay it, or this. What are you going to do? It's like, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a live deputy up, because I know what time you come through. I know what you're driving, and when they get you on their LiDAR,
that's a different story.
It does matter how fast you were going, how much over, because it may not just be speeding. You may be reckless driving. Oh, you didn't have your vehicle inspected. And, what's that? What's that I smell? You want to deal with a live person, welcome to the show.
Well, because you're in the business of saving lives, and if you can do that before something terrible happens, that is a best case scenario.
Well, and we've had a few people comment on the Facebook page, how many school kids have been hurt? How many crashes have you had? And it's like, we're not going to be reactive when it comes to this. I can tell you, and I think I've said it before, on that stretch in front of Stonewall Elementary, there have been 2 fatal crashes, not during school, not at school hours, but one was on an afternoon in the summer that, had we been in the school season, the drunk driver who hit the teacher leaving Stonewall Elementary and killing both of them drunk would have still been there doing that. And the cameras, wouldn't have prevented that. I'm not saying that either. All right, a drunk driver is a different beast. But if you want to get into the technicality about crashes, injuries, deaths, they're happening. And so we don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive. Mm-hmm. Frederick County has already had their second traffic fatality of the year. We're in the second month of the year, and we already had our second fatality. Last year, we did well. We only had 9 total for the year. And we had periods where we went months without any. And now 2026, January during the snowstorm, boom, we end up with number one. And now this past week, we have one on 522 South. And so we're not going to be reactive. If we saw a pattern in either one of those crashes, we would be doing something about it. And for us to be able to say and look the community in the eye and saying we're doing as much as we possibly can, it can't just be about, well, why aren't you sitting here? Why aren't you sitting there? Because even then, our deputies can't be there the whole time. The moment I start dealing with someone who came through at 48 in the 35, here comes 62 in the 35, and I don't know it because I'm dealing with 48. So which one is more important? Either one should be addressed. But while you're busy here, something's getting by here. And that's the thing about these automated systems. It's always going to be watching, but we don't let it control anything. It's all human-oriented, human-originated, human-approved.
You're controlling the outcomes as far as what the ultimate
We're
is.
making sure everything's right.
Right.
There is no algorithm or anything like that. There is, well, I only see red cars. The camera system always only catches red cars. Some people say that about cops. It's
the
like
safest car to, yeah.
You only stop me in my Corvette because it looks fast. I'm like, all right, number one, I like Corvettes, but I don't look at it and go, is that thing moving while it's sitting still? I mean, it's like, it just looks fast.
Well, and so speaking of Corvettes, the weather is getting warmer. I'm not comfortable enough to say that we have reached spring temperatures because I think we're going to have another blast of cold here shortly, but it is getting warmer. So people are out in their Corvettes with their tops down.
We had motorcycles out the other day.
Yeah.
The weather got warm enough and nice enough that we had riders out, and it's like, okay, and we will ask the same of those riders. Be responsible all the time. You want to ride defensively because you don't want to be in a pack of cars. You don't want to be, squeezed in on the side by someone you don't trust. I understand that to a degree. I've ridden bikes. I still have my motorcycle endorsement. And one day, if my wife isn't listening, I'm going to have another motorcycle. I may ride again one day. And I know what that feels like to be traveling 55, 60 miles an hour. I seldom went on the interstate, but when I did, I was like, okay, I can't do it. I understand that. But there's a difference in, okay, from this red light now, I'm going to create a little bit of distance so that I don't have vehicles right up on me.
Right.
And just, creating distance. If you're in a 45 zone on a bike and the light turns green, get up to 45, and you can do that in 2-3 seconds. Okay, without popping the wheelie, without laying rubber, you can do that, and then you let off a little bit. You're at 45, maybe 47, 8, whatever. You're right there where you need to be, and you've now created distance because those bigger, heavier cars
take a little bit longer than that.
Unless they're also like, and you got that. So I'm a realistic traffic cop. I don't sit here and preach messages that I think are unrealistic. I understand, like I said, that need, that want, that desire on the part of a rider to feel as safe as possible. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And so we ask that you do it the right way if you need to do it. And don't be cutting through vehicles. Virginia is not one of the states where you're allowed to cut through vehicles through the middle of the center turn lane or across the dotted line. And there's a reason we don't allow it. It only takes a split second for your bike to be where it's not supposed to be for I'll say elderly or a young driver or even a nervous driver to be like, and they jerk the wheel. And the next thing you know, because you're so close with another vehicle on the other side of you,
well, you can't account for a cat running out, a deer running out, a bump in the road that you're not seeing because maybe your eyes are going in other places. When you're on a bike, there are so many more things that you have to be aware of than when you're driving a car or a truck or anything else.
And now let me flip the switch so that my riders out there are like, hey.
Lighten up on me a little, dude.
You people in the roller skates, as the 18-wheelers call them, you people in the passenger vehicles, you have an obligation, too, to help keep those riders safe.
100%.
Whether you believe it or not, whether you understand it or not, let me be the one to tell you and explain to you that you as a driver of any vehicle have an obligation to every other driver to be as safe as you can be while also being prepared and driving defensively if you need. But you have an obligation. And so it brings me back to the whole thing, I know my rights. Driving isn't one of them, people.
It's a privilege.
It's a privilege. You get a license granted to you from whatever DMV of the jurisdiction in which you live. And for those of you that are like, I drive without the license, I'm a traveler, and you believe in some of the things that sovereign citizens believe in, you will not be the first to be proven wrong and find out that, yes, A, you do need a license. Yes, your vehicle needs to be registered. Yes, you must comply with my directives and my commands. And yes, I can take you to jail. So know what your real rights are, but driving's not one of them. And as a driver of any motor vehicle or motorbike, e-bike, anything that's going to be operated on the public highway, moped, scooter, you have an obligation to drive responsibly, and you have an obligation to every other rider or driver around you. And if everybody can keep that in mind, then hopefully, it'll be some time before we see our next fatality in Frederick County. I would love to be able to come back here January of 27, knocking on wood that I'm still kicking, be able to come back and say we ended the year with 2 fatalities.
Right.
Unfortunately, we started off bad, but the rest of the year, went our way. And it's not just about the fatals, because fatals grab a lot of attention. But folks, there are people losing limbs. There are people losing mobility.
There are long-term
paralyzed,
consequences.
Brain injuries. And so those are the ones that don't get reported. And so it's an overall big picture kind of thing when it comes to traffic safety. And Janet, I've lost family members in traffic situations. Some have been due to impaired driving, which is why I'm such a staunch believer and enforcer of impaired driving code sections. But some have not been due to impaired driving. And so it's just a matter of some have been their fault and some haven't been their fault. And I can tell you there are other families and other family members in our area who know what I'm talking about. And if you're not one of them, consider yourself fortunate, but help the rest of us now make sure that you stay in the current category you're in and you don't join our category.
We've got to wrap up in about 2 minutes, but you wanted to say something about an increase in scams before we're done?
The scammers are back at it. They'll take, and my name's been used before. And folks, if you hear me now, listen to this voice. Because someone sent me a copy of the recording they had of the guy that was supposed to be Lieutenant Gosnell. And I'm just like, all right, anybody that's seen me on social media, anyone that's heard me on the radio broadcast here, my own videos on social media, the commercial I did for DMV years ago, you remember that?
I remember that.
Anybody that's seen any of that knows that doesn't sound like Gosnell. That's because it's not. And so now they're taking other names, and they'll see them on our Facebook or in the paper. And again, the only thing I can say to you, if anybody claims to be from a law enforcement organization or even a fundraising organization on behalf of law enforcement asking you for money or gift cards or cryptocurrency, anything like that, especially if it has to do with a ticket, missing court, jury duty, anything like that, hang up. You have my permission to hang up. And if you want, then call the non-emergency number of whatever agency this person was claiming to be from and let them know you just received that call. But I'm telling you, 10 times out of 10, they're going to tell you it wasn't a member of their agency. Don't be a victim.
Thank you for coming in early to record the show with me today. I appreciate it. And getting me out of a staff meeting. Thank you.
I know nothing about that.
No more staff meetings for me. I will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of The Valley Today, a few minutes after noon. So meet me here then.